Oh, and welcome to Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O. We are very lucky today to have two gentlemen with us from Hunter Canine in, is it right, Cave Creek, Arizona? Is that right, guys?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool beans. So as usual, nothing on this show is meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any ailment with your animals. Okay, so if you have one of your pets that is suffering from any illness, injury, turn your computer off and get to the veterinarian right now. You can watch this whenever you want, okay? But no diagnosing, treating, preventing, or curing at all. And now that their waivers are over, I'd like everyone that's watching and listening to like us on Facebook and contribute to Facebook. Let us know what other topics we can touch on for you that will help you be a better animal advocate and to share with your friends and family. That's at Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O for Facebook, and Twitter is Dr.O DVM. So get involved, join up, increase your animal advocacy, and let us know how you think of this show, and let us know how we can further care for you and your pets, and get a hold of Hunter Canine as soon as this is over so you can get these wonderful services that these guys have to offer. Now, we're going to start by talking to Chad and Andrew and start with the personal experience that I had with these guys in the last couple days, which makes me a little bit more of a powerful advocate for them and in support of something that I was kind of on the fence about. So let's start by saying hi and have you guys introduce yourself.
Hi, how are you? I'm Chad Hunter, training director here at Hunter Canine.
And I'm Andrew Steinkel. I'm the head trainer at Hunter Canine.
Right on. And what is Hunter Canine, guys?
Hunter Canine, we're basically a all-in-one stop shop for any any type of dog training. We offer everything from we're primarily a behavioral school, right? So we do a lot of training program curriculums for dogs that come in and out of here, but we also do everything from group classes to dock diving, swimming, lure coursing. We do herding, we do personal protection, we do police dog work, we do pretty much everything you could imagine here. So we're on a 12-acre facility here, so we try to do as much as we can to be that one-stop place for everybody to kind of fulfill their dreams with their dogs in a sense. So.
Now, how is it possible that only two guys can have all of those skills?
That's
That's true, right?
Practice lots of time working with dogs. We've been doing this for a lot of years combined, and really time on a leash, right?
Right.
More than any class or anything that you take is the most important thing. And having the opportunity to work with just any type of dog, all different types of problems and behaviors, has really just given us kind of the ability and the willingness and the desire to continue to work with the dogs and to continue to be able to expand their horizons and to continue to be able to offer different things to them.
How did it start for you guys? Like, like how did I become a veterinarian, or how did I do this? And how did you guys fall into or dive into doing dogs for a living?
Personally, I actually, believe it or not, I grew up into a dog training family. It's kind of in my blood in a sense, as people would say. Long story short, my mom used to be a big advocate of training and raising Dobermans. She did a lot of showmanship and stuff with Dobermans. And long story short, my dad got a Doberman one day and wanted somebody to campaign his dog for some show work, and he met my mom, and the rest is history.
So there's like a romance piece in it too. It's not just about the dogs. There's like a romance piece. That's awesome. You should write a novel or something like that. That's a good one.
So
Good.
I grew up here, actually on the same exact facility we're on now. This is a family-owned ranch. It's been in the family for about 35 years now.
Oh, nice, nice.
Grew up around essentially working dogs we use for cattle work out here, running cattle, and border collies, Australian shepherds, healers, dogs that we use primarily for work around here. So I just always had admired a great dedication for the dogs, and growing up around horses, at some point in time, my mom became a very big horse advocate as well. I always fell back on the dogs, though. As much as she tried to get me involved with the horses, I always the dogs, and it's something that's never left me. I mean, I've done everything in my time, from race motocross take up this hobby, shoot guns, whatever my hobbies are, right? But the dogs have never left me, and I'm proud to say that I can work 7 days a week, nearly 14 hours a day, and I never get sick of it. I
Wow.
absolutely love it.
That's
So,
awesome. What about you, Andrew?
My story is a little bit different. I did not get born into a dog family. I had one little lazy Cocker Spaniel that laid under a TV all day and never so for me and my girlfriend have the same birthday, and for our 25th birthday, we walked into a shelter and brought ourselves home a dog, an Australian cattle dog. Didn't know anything about Australian cattle dogs, right? Because I'm from the East Coast and they're not a big. Real good dog, real nice, real sweet, very smart, all that kind of stuff, but was just doing puppy things that I had never dealt with before and didn't know how to do, you know. And I did the typical internet research and all that kind of stuff, but it just wasn't really taking me where I wanted to go with him. So I actually hired a trainer to come to me and to help me with the problems that I was having. And while we were doing it, it was something that I just kind of fell in love with pretty immediately. I was a psych major in college, so I saw how all of the things that I had learned in school just kind of applied very quickly, and it's just something that clicked into me. I was a high school teacher, so I started training really as a way to kind of keep myself sane while I was teaching and to get like a good outlet, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! How did you tolerate being a high school teacher? My gosh, you must have like the patience of a saint. My goodness. Although I'm much more of an animal person than I'm a people person. Everyone who knows me knows that. So a high school teacher. Oh my gosh. So what happened? You just fell into it, or you end up applying, or you guys just got together over this dog, or?
We've trained together in several capacities over the course of the years, and we've crossed paths in many different avenues, especially as I got more into the Malinois and the working dog.
Oh, yeah.
And we just kind of developed a really good training rapport with one another and just a good personal relationship and all that kind of stuff. And I was very lucky, and Chad was looking to kind of expand on the working dog stuff and get into more of the pet stuff, and I was looking for any reason to get out of the classroom. So.
So that worked out super great for both of you, it looks like. Now, I was lucky enough we kind of put together a thing for just 3 days ago to do your rattlesnake avoidance training up at one of actually my boyfriend's property up here in Dewey, Arizona, and this was my first time actually being present during that kind of training, and I've heard about it and such, especially since I moved to Arizona. It's quite prevalent with the snake population here, and there's no way I can express how impressed I was and how humbled I was about the way you guys treated these dogs and the results that you got in a shockingly short course of time with minimal side effects, minimal it was just, you guys were true professionals, and I really appreciate that. And especially since you worked on my dog, which you know, I warned you guys, I become like insta client or insta owner versus being a professional when it comes to my dog. So I truly want to thank you guys for that, and I would like you to kind of the three of us know why this is important, and we know why there's more of a personal touch to it now after this training, because I lost one of my patients just within 24 hours of having this training, a client and a patient that were not involved with the training at all, but were on a hike, ran across a snake, got bitten, pardon me, went to the emergency room and had an adverse reaction to the treatment and the snake. It was just a bad ending to a very bad story, and my heart sank for 9 different reasons, and one of them was, oh my gosh, although it was my first time, if this dog and this owner had just been at this training, maybe things may have gone a different way. And I know that that's a sad story way to look at it, and I've got no guarantees, but what I saw on Saturday makes me believe that that's true. So if you guys could talk about your training, and I know I've asked you to do this a dozen times since I met you, but this is just really important that everybody, everywhere that's listening to this, regardless if you live around snakes or not, and rattlers, which I have the utmost respect for, and we'll talk about that in a minute, knows how this goes down and knows how safe and efficient it was, and how It worked. It worked. You guys go to it. You know what I'm looking for.
So we have to acknowledge that dogs are designed differently than we are, right? And
Yes.
two things that they are better at than us is smelling things and hearing things, right? And
Right.
recognizing specific scents in an environment, and being able to smell them from a far distance. It's why they're used as bomb dogs. It's why they're used as bomb detectors and drug detectors and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Unfortunately, as humans, we can't do that. I have no way of smelling a rattlesnake, even if I had very, very, very good scent abilities for a human. It wouldn't compare to that of a dog, not even remotely close, right?
Right.
So, since our dogs have the natural inclination to do this biologically, and then we have a lot of dogs who have a lot of drive on top of that, right? Your dog in particular, because she's got to run a drive, right, and want to go do things, right? We
Yep.
can teach them to say that specific scent in the environment is something that I don't really want to have anything to do with, right? Not all the scents in the environment, but that specific scent is something that I probably don't want to deal with, right? Because it's not going to end up being anything good.
Mhm.
And essentially, we have two options. We can either let the snake teach the dog that, right? Like your client had happened the other day, unfortunately, which can have catastrophic results almost.
Yes.
Or we can do a couple of minutes of training to teach them the same thing, right? To simulate the idea that a snake is a bad thing that they should avoid, and then train them a response that is more effective, right? Training them to avoid the snake, right? Or to run away from the snake. So
Yes.
whether they're alone and they come upon a snake, they can avoid it, or whether they're with you and now they avoid it and they also alert you to it.
Mhm.
It allows them to be safe, and if you're with them, it allows you to be safe because you have a cue that a snake is there.
Right.
We oftentimes don't know. I'm sure that in my years out here in Arizona, I've walked past snakes completely unknowingly because they were just coiled up and I wasn't looking for them, right? So this is kind of giving me a detection system for the fact that a snake is there personally, but more than that, keeping my dog, who I know likes to sniff and likes to explore and likes to do all these things, giving them a way to understand that snakes just stay, right? That's all you have to do. You don't have to stop sniffing. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All you have to do is stay away from that particular scent and that particular sound. And it ultimately ends up saving their lives.
And that's the trick, right? Is the saving the life piece of it, and it in veterinary medicine, holistic or not, we have our choices. One choice is that we can do rattlesnake vaccine, which I've got my own opinions about, and then we have avoidance training, such as you guys are offering, thankfully. Then we have what I've unfortunately, good news, bad news, been involved in is treatment of animals that have gotten bitten by snakes, and it is extremely painful. It is nerve-wracking, anxiety generating, and then the humans are in danger of being bit by the dog, just because of the anxiety and the pain and such, the transportation, the hospital bills, and then the choice to do anti-venom, not anti-venom, and then being supportive of secondary and tertiary problems. And then in holistic medicine, we have a couple smaller things that we can do to try and mitigate pain and anxiety and such, but when it comes right down to it, we have life-threatening side effects possibly from being bit by a snake, even if on top of this incredible pain, swelling, anxiety, cardiovascular, neurological, blood, hematology issues. And so, I mean, this is real. This is real stuff. This is life-threatening stuff, and it happens like that. So the idea that we can avoid getting into a situation where we're going to go to the emergency room or avoid the possible side effects of vaccine or anti-venom or whatever is a blessing as far as I'm concerned. And the skill set that you guys demonstrated up at the house on Saturday with a variety. Oh my gosh! If you guys don't mind talking about, we saw a whole like dog show of different kinds of dogs, didn't we? I mean, sizes, personalities, drives, traits, and then Andrea, you mentioned my dog, and she's actually been contraband trained up in Utah, and that second to my other contraband dog who worked in the state of Nevada for a long time, and she was declared to have twice as much drive as my contraband dog in the state of Nevada ever had. She just wasn't able to finish up her training there. But as you guys saw, she is quite a dog. So if go ahead.
She loves to use her nose, right? And that can get a dog in a lot of trouble in Arizona, right? When they're
Yeah.
just wandering around, and they're just sniffing, 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 sniffing. You know, they don't know. Then now we've got a big problem.
So kind of what you were just explaining now is I'll use some of the people that were there for instance this weekend. Like you said, it was like the Westminster Dog Show this weekend.
It was like the Westminster.
Yeah, everything from probably it was a 3-pound Yorkie that we had up to a 110-pound, 120-pound German Shepherd.
Yep.
We had a couple pit bull mixes. I mean, various different ages and breeds of dogs. A conversation I had with one of your clients there as well was explaining that some time ago I could say that snake training could be, I could say, more breed specific. So in other words, I can kind of have the mentality and say, okay, a Jack Russell Terrier, a very strong-willed, very high-driven dog, prey-driven dog especially, right, is a dog that can be along the lines I can always at some point guarantee what its response is going to be initially, right? But now, so dogs have evolved so much, even just in the last 25 years, that now you see German Shepherds that have the personalities of some Jack Russell Terriers, or you see little Yorkies that have the personalities of those Jack Russells. So you can't necessarily say, oh, I have a Jack Russell, for instance, here, and I've seen Jack Russells that are actually afraid of snakes in a lot of ways, and I've snake trained Jack Russells that will go after a snake, and it doesn't matter if it's in the cage or not. They don't care if there's a correction involved. They're going to go at it because it creates fight drive, right? So
yep.
Specifically, based on a series of questions, based on the dog's age, on their health, on some of if they have health issues, based on our professional experience, right? We want to understand is that it's my job to depict, especially if I'm controlling the stimuli and the corrections that are involved here, is I want to make the best analysis I possibly can of what this dog's reaction is going to be based on when I give it the first level of correction, if that makes sense, right?
It does. Now remember, you guys get information from us as dog owners about personalities and health status and all those types of things. And you guys ran across somebody who gave you information about their dog that was a little bit skewed, wasn't it? Do you remember? Yeah, you remember that dog. So what it is I think about my dog and what it is that you have to use your power of observation, skill set, and judgment can be quite different. Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's why we separate the dog from the handler. There's several reasons, but one of them is because we want to see how the dog is.
Yes.
Owner's presence there changes the dog. You know what I'm saying? So we want the dogs to feel as though they can work independently, and that dog is a perfect example because the owner was saying how soft her dog was and how insecure and oh my God, I don't know how he's going to handle this. And the moment we walked the dog away from her, he was like, oh, all right, cool, like tail up, like ready to go, right? And he actually went into that snake cage pretty fiercely at first, right?
Yeah.
Had he done that, then she would have brought her anxiety into it, and then we would not have gotten the response that we were looking for because our presence would have changed it. So when we take the dogs, we do that for because we don't want the owner to bring themselves into it, right? We don't want the owner to be associated with the correction. We don't want the owner to cue their dog to the fact that something bad is about to happen, which is only a natural response to that, right?
Well, you're exactly right, because myself, that down the leash anxiety, I'm not sure what that's a term you guys use, but down the leash, my anxiety going zing right to my dog, and that overall aura of, oh crap, I would have been by far the worst poster child for that, definitely, with my dog, because so and then the dog you guys are talking about down below at the table definitely seemed like a somewhat subdued dog, and then you guys get up there and dog wants to jump into the crate with the snakes. No, so you guys using your skill set and your years of experience, and that dog corrected up just great, didn't it? I mean, he responded wonderfully to what you guys were doing for it.
It's about finding the level of correction that the dog needs, right?
Right.
Going higher. If you go too high, then you fry the dog and you completely shut him down, and now you're creating other problems. But at the same time, it can't be too low, right? Because like touching a hot stove, right? If you touch a cool stove,
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not hot enough to be 4th-degree burns, but hot enough that you kind of pull your hand away, then only touch a stove once. So that's where the experience comes into play, is understanding the dog's drive, right? Drive is definitely a part of it. Their breed, their behavioral history, their medical history, all are taken into account to determine where that initial correction needs to be, so that we don't have to do it more times than are necessary.
Right. And then, and they're no long-term anything. When the dogs got back down to their tents and were saying hi to their owners and those types of things, there was, I don't know, 2-3 minutes of what the heck was that? I was like, it's the way I feel when I go to the dentist. I have to be honest with you. I mean, like, I never want to go back there. Don't ever bring me back to the dentist cage again. That's me and my anxiety. It's like, but my dogs went up the hill, and I think our miniature Australian Shepherd, the first dog that you did, he was quite an amazingly different personality, with being so not nervous. He was just high-strung and reactive. He's so reactive. Both of those dogs, and then there's Daphne, who was just quite different. But each dog was so different, but recovered great, and no long-term anything. Where I have heard where there have been places that have overcorrected dogs, or where these dogs did have some issues later just by too much, and being, so like I said, I've got nothing but respect for what it is you guys did. And I know that of the dogs you did, you absolutely saved lives. I mean, absolutely. Because hopefully these dogs will be just shooting away from every single bush that rattles, or the smell down the road. So can you let people know how to get a hold of you guys, and even if it's just ask questions about what am I looking for in a rattlesnake avoidance training facility if they can't get to you guys just because of location or those types of things? What would you tell people, and is it okay if they get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, for those of you outside the state, or unfortunately not close enough to train with us at our facility, that I know that of some other places in rural places, I know of actually a couple places in Utah. I think there's a gentleman, and I know a lot of places actually in California that do it. Here's what I would look for as a consumer, as a customer, potential, someone who wants to snake train their dog. First and foremost, you want to know what method they're using, right? So primary method, some people will say you don't need to use an e-collar. Other people will use a method of saying I want to use a different form of correction, right? So the only way you're going to get the stimuli that you need is by using a correctional collar. So I've never known a whole lot of people do it, but make sure that they're using an electronic collar, an e-collar, right? But more specifically, what is their method in regards to the snake? Are they using actual rattlesnakes, or are they defanged?
Right.
Are they using a cage that the snake is in, or is the snake free, right? So those are factors, because I have a place in California that had a method of basically defanging the snakes, right? Devenomizing the snakes, right?
Right.
Let the snake bite the dog, and that's how the dog would acquire the negative association with the snake, right? So basically let the snake, well, they didn't realize that a lot of dogs, like I'll use my little Jack Russell as an example, right? Those dogs, you put them in fight mode, they're just going to fight.
Bite more.
That's not what you want. So you need to understand that the method that you're using, it needs to be effective based on, I want to make sure that I'm getting that scent that I need, right? That's why our snakes have fangs, that's why our snakes have venom, but they're also put in double mesh safety cages, which is about 4 inches thick of mesh, so if a snake strike towards a dog, it can't get through. I mean, I've been using that same exact method for about 10 years now with the snakes in the cages. A lot of people say, well, my dog never saw the snake. I don't understand that. I want my dog to be able to see the snake.
Dog doesn't have to see the snake.
Dog doesn't have to see the snake, because your dog is not using its eyes when it runs through the woods or is on a hike with you. Your dog is smelling the entire time.
Right.
It's air scent, right? And we want to make sure that dog has the appropriate level of scent, right, based on the number of snakes you use, right, which wasn't as crucial, but most importantly, that I strongly recommend and encourage anybody that does the form of training. The snake has to have venom. It has to have fangs. Which is obviously a risk that people are willing to take, but also at the same time, if you understand their methods and how they're doing it, it's you get a little bit peace of mind.
Well, I think that also has to do with people don't, in general, not to be condescending, I don't think that people have a really great appreciation for how powerful the olfactory senses in dogs are. And Andrew, you mentioned when we started this whole thing that one of my favorite favorite things that dogs do is we use dogs for everything that we can't do, whether it's our bomb detection dogs, it's our drug dogs, it's for like my girls, the contraband dogs, or something as sensitive as seizures, diabetes, those types of things that they have powers of perception and olfactory senses that I don't think we'll ever understand. I don't think we can even think in those powers. Chad, like you're saying, not having the venom, which is the nidus for the odor, the nidus for what they smell like to dogs, being removed, it actually, that piece doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, because we're using a snout, we're using an olfactory, and then an olfactory stimulus or nidus to get to just do this whole work, isn't it? So when you talk to folks that are looking for these services outside of your arena, we're looking for people that have snakes that are, they're fanged, they have their venom, they're in safety cages, they use e-collars very, very safely. What about their length and experience and time on the ground and those types of things? How do we talk to people such as you guys to get a level of comfort about this? So I'm going to go out and let my dog with these people.
No, absolutely. And a very important factor of this is that, as they say, and as essentially as I was raised, is that my dad always told me, and this is his Bible, right? You cannot teach experience, okay? So what it comes down to is it comes down to timing, right? I always tell my clients and everybody I work with the difference between a good dog trainer and a bad dog trainer, whether it's snake proofing, whether it's obedience, whether it's agility, no matter what it is the concept of timing, right?
Right.
So if I have just anybody that decides, and believe me, I hear it all the time. I have people that come to us and say, "Oh man, look how easy this is. You got these snakes in a cage, you got an e-collar, and you have all these people coming to you to do this. Like, heck, I could do this easily, right?"
Yeah.
Everybody could essentially build it up and do it, right? But if you have no concept of animal behavior psychology or timing, you're going to create oh my good Lord, it's going to be not a very good result whatsoever, right? So.
Right. And your dogs are the ones that pay the price. Your dogs are, whether it's overcorrection, undercorrection, if you have a soft dog, and these are kind of, the terms that are outside the scope of our conversation, but when you have a dog that isn't conducive to corrections or those types of things based on your experience with drives and traits and soft and those types of things, that you can do so much damage. And that might be me. You're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but you can do long-term damage, and you need to know what the hell you're doing. So there.
And as I tell some people too, like I almost wish that there would be a requirement of saying that somebody needs to be a licensed professional or somebody that could even own or buy an e-collar. I mean, you could go buy these things at any Cabela's, any warehouse, right? Sportsman's Warehouse, thing like that. You go buy an e-collar like it's nothing. You can order them online. They're not too expensive, right? But I see more people. And I'll admit, it'll be about 95% of the people that I've ever seen is that they have no concept of how to use an e-collar, right? So it could mean something is that, I'll use a perfect example here, right? If I have my snake, right, in let's say in a creosote bush, okay? And I walk the dog up to that creosote bush, and that dog is kind of picking up on the scent of the snake, but then all of a sudden that dog goes, "Oh, whoa, what's this smell over here," right? And it kind of starts picking up on the scent of that. And I don't understand that, and I don't see that, and I don't perceive that. And I correct the dog. Little do I know, I just created a negative association with the scent of
creosote tree. And
then you want to wonder why your dog is a nerve bag when you walk around a creosote bush. Yeah. What's that? Or are they afraid of this or a piece of wood, or so it's the timing of it is what's the most important, and I like to see somebody that has a very strong behavioral background with dogs as also as a snake trainer, right? Because if I see anybody that's just calls himself a snake avoidance trainer, right? And what's your experience with dogs? Oh, nothing. I just started snake avoidance training. Yeah. Those are the people I'd be a little cautious about, right? And there are those people out there, I understand they're trying to help and want to benefit, right? But at the same time, no offense to them, they don't have the experience.
Well, I can tell you firsthand as a emergency veterinarian, I know of people who have bought these e-collars, these shock collars, and used them to train puppies not to do bad behaviors, and negatively reinforcing with a shock collar things that puppies didn't know they weren't doing right. I've actually surgically removed shock collars that are embedded in the necks of dogs. So you can imagine where my insecurity, my attitude about e-collars comes from, because I only see the worst of the worst. And as you say, anybody can get their hands on an e-collar, and therein lies I would really like the message of this show is that these tools belong only in the hands of extremely experienced folks that know what the heck they're doing, and that they can cause more harm than good, just as an overall blanket statement coming straight from me, because I've seen it, and I've seen the long-term psychological and nerve and those types of things that go along with these things. But the way you guys used it, as I said before, I've got nothing but the utmost respect for the achievement and the results that you got, and the way that you used it, using every tool you have in your toolbox for observation and such, with each individual dog being just that, an individual. So that being, go ahead, hon. Go ahead.
This applies to all pieces of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just an e-collar. That applies to any piece of equipment. In my experience, and Chad can agree with me or disagree with me, but in my experience doing this, the number one cause of territorial behavior in dogs is a flat collar and a harness. Why do people put those on? They put them on so their dogs aren't choking themselves when they're walking, right? But you might be solving that problem, but you're creating another bigger one, right? Because you're using the tools effectively, right? So every tool has a specific purpose, right? And when you walk into PetSmart and all that kind of stuff, they've got lots of them, but you're not always using them correctly, right? So problems that you're having with the dog, right? And anytime that you want to work on something with your dog, you have to evaluate whether or not the tools that you're using to create that response and to get that behavior or to modify it or whatever it is that you're doing are the right tools for what you're trying to do, and are being used, even if it's the right tool, are you using it correctly to make sure that it's effective, right? Because otherwise your dog's getting mixed messages.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that I have to live on the premise that everyone does the best they can within their education and their experience, and that we're all have different amounts of each. Yes, so we go in and we buy cool stuff for our dog, and that we have these pieces of equipment such as you're talking about, but unless you have the education and the experience, like, no, you can't teach experience. Your dad's great. It's up for grabs. So I couldn't agree with you more. And then when people get frustrated, they go and they buy bigger, badder, pointier pieces of equipment to correct stuff that they don't have the experience to do or the education to know, even in some cases, what the heck they're even looking at, or what the heck even kind of dog they got. Just like you were talking about going to get a dog, I said, I don't even know what to do with this dog because they're doing weird things. Now I want to try and use a piece of this to try and transition into a dogs and traits a drives and traits conversation, and your guys' training philosophy and how darn positive it is. Whether it's off your website or what I saw in person or our conversations together, instead of having the no, don't, can't type philosophy, it's more of a positive. We like can do or figure out a way to, or how are we going to work, respecting the drives and traits of this individual creature, whether it's a broad stroke breed thing or the individual species, and its owner. Who are we training here, and what are we doing in a very positive way? And that's one of the things that I haven't seen your facility, but everything I've seen with you guys and experienced with you guys, and your training philosophy in writing. Can you guys go through that a bit? Because I really do admire that quite a bit. It's hard to find.
We're always open and honest. We use a very balanced training approach, right? There are things that a dog can do, and there are things that they can do better, right? Or differently, right? If you want to label that bad, fine, right? But our goal is to show the dog how to reach positive outcomes.
Yes.
And that requires sometimes understanding negative outcomes, right?
Yes.
Right? I'm not just going to, if I have a dog that is aggressive, I'm not just going to meet aggression with food, because that's not interesting enough for the dog, right? And their drive pushes them towards behaviors that I find unacceptable, right?
Yes.
Your job is to find a way to balance that, right? To show the dog that this behavior that you're engaging in at the moment is not the behavior that I want, right? Whether because it's just not what I want because I ask you to sit and you just lay down, which isn't a big deal, or because you get territorial, or because you get aggressive, or because you're afraid, or whatever it is, right? And then here's your alternative, which is what I want you to do.
Right.
When you do those things, you get all the love and hugs and kisses and food and treats and balls and tugs or whatever it is that motivates your dog to get them to want to re-engage with that, right? But we don't ignore the bad behaviors, right? We don't change our lives. We don't change our training program to say to the dog, like, oh, okay, well, you're afraid of this, so I'm just going to avoid this, right? Because that's not modifying behavior, right? That's avoiding behavior. That's avoiding situations that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable or unpleasant to your dog, but it's not showing them how to get through it, right?
It doesn't work for people or for dogs, right? Just because I'm afraid of this or afraid of that, and that the whole everything I do is going to come out roses. I've been through vet school. I know that it's not true. I mean, you take your knocks and then you get corrected and hard. I grew up in a military family. I know what it's like to be corrected hard. Speak when spoken to and stand in the corner until I call you. That's how I grew up, so I get it. And I also when we get these dogs that are inherently aggressive, and the thing is that's okay. I mean, we like inherent aggressive dogs because they're purposeful. We can use them for certain things that they really want to do, just like our territorial dogs, just like all these drives and traits that some folks that I run across, they really try to deny the fact that there are dogs that are actually inherently aggressive, and that's great, but we gotta respect that. We're not going to use that as a couch potato dog and keep getting mad at it because it's doing aggressive things, So I think. Go ahead.
Certainly not getting mad at them when you haven't taught them an alternative.
Exactly. I love that.
And that's their genetics, and genetics are there, right? They're there for us. They're there for the dogs. We can't deny that, right?
Right.
So if the dog's genetic response to something is something that you don't love, right? Whether because it's not useful to you in your life or because it's not where you want them to apply that drive or whatever it is. If you don't teach them an alternative, and then you get mad at them for doing that, well, that's not fair to the dog either, right? So
Exactly. It's very, very dysfunctional. It's very dysfunctional, very confusing for them, just like it is in people's relationships. There's no difference there. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right. I really do want to get positive affirmation. I really do want to please you, but I got no idea what it is you're telling me to do or not do, and the response, the reinforcement is just all over the map. So the human training piece must be a huge part of what you guys do as well, huh?
Absolutely. That's where me being a teacher, I think, comes into play, right? I'm used to 40 kids telling me they don't want to do something all at once, right? And really having no skills to be able to do something and understanding how to build that up, right? So it is a process, absolutely. And I started as a client for a trainer once too, and I'm sure that she looked at me like, oh my God, this guy can't hold a leash, because I couldn't, right? So, that's a very important piece of it, because if you're not doing the things that are necessary to clearly communicate with your dog, then your dog is going to do the things that you're communicating to them, right? Training is happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you know it or not. Right?
Yeah.
People are learning how to do things their way, or they're learning how to do things your way, right? And if you're trying to teach them how to do something your way and it's not working, it's very likely because you're not communicating it correctly, right?
Yeah, you couldn't be more right. You just couldn't be more right. And that having our pets or having our non-human friends and even our human friends, it's an obligation. It's an obligation for not only education with them and you as a team, but also advocating for them by allowing them not to get in trouble, by allowing them to do the right thing and to be in your life hopefully forever, but give them the skills they need to have a good positive life, and that's our responsibility. And if that means we have to learn new stuff from folks like you all the darn time, too bad. I mean, too bad. That's our obligation to these guys. So do you guys, the folks that come to you, are pretty stern in they're dedicated to their animals? Do you guys find that, or it's more of a problem solving, or if we can't fix this, I don't want this dog, or what kind of clientele are you guys getting down there?
A little bit of everything.
Oh no.
But the reality is that for every dog that comes through, right, we always tell everyone the same thing, that you are the biggest piece of this, right? Even if we have dogs that will stay for a 2 to 3 week training program, right? And even we say to them, the day they drop their dog off, if you are not committed to the follow-up and committed to training them after, then you might as well just not even leave your dog here, because they're going to go right back to the way they were, right? And I'm not trying to take your money just to take your money. I want your dog to be well behaved, right? Because I love dogs, and I love when dogs are well behaved and they can go out and do things. And dogs that are well behaved live much better, more fulfilling lives because they are happier in their home. They're able to go places with their owners and be involved in their owners' lives. So I want people who are committed to it, right?
Right.
Owners who are committed to it, every single one of the owners that has truly been committed to the follow-up and working with us and making themselves better, their dogs are significantly better, and they rave about what goes on here. But
That's great. That's great.
Right? Then we have people who don't do any follow-up, and we get a call 6 months later, and they say that their dog's doing exactly what they were. How come? The dog was trained, this, that, the other thing. And yes, well, you're doing the same things that you were doing before your dog came to me. So.
Oh, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Yeah, it's like, oh, we dropped off on the treatments, and now we're in crisis again. So I need to see you again. I'm like, really? Wow. Well, come on in, get your hand slapped, because we're doing it again. So, can you guys maybe, Chad, tell me the services that you guys offer, the variety, and what kind of dogs, what kind of personalities, what kind of drives and traits do you see really benefit from these variety of activities? So we can give people an idea of what's out there. What do you guys have to offer? Because you guys are one stop. You have so many options at your facility.
Primarily, like I said in the beginning, that we're a behavioral school, right? So we like to focus our time and our efforts on basically anything from, and we do like we'd use the Westminster analogy, right, for the snake proofing, right? Currently, we have a 5-pound Maltese here, right? And we just had a probably 170-pound bull mastiff that went home this weekend, right? So in other words, doesn't matter the ages, the size, of the drive range, the energy levels, is that we might have one dog. Now our training curriculum that we have, right, so we have what's called a training retreat, right, which is basically a 2 to 3 week program depending on the dog, what the issues are, but that is a program that is set for anybody that, for instance, gets a new puppy, right, and they just need some basic puppy foundation and teaching how the puppy how to walk on leash and be respectful in the house, to that are basically on their last limb of we need to fix this dog, or this dog needs to be euthanized, essentially, right? Because it's dogs and people, you know. So we have a very broad spectrum of dogs that we work with, right? So the training curriculum we have is what we do different than some other facilities, is that instead of the same curriculum for every dog, no matter what the dog is that comes in here, is that we adapt the curriculum based on what your needs are and what your dog needs. So essentially, if I have a little Labrador Retriever puppy that comes in that just likes to jump up on people and just love I'm going to work on teaching that dog just some refined manners of learning how to greet people respectfully, walk on a leash, and that's all I ask, right? Now, if I have a dog that comes in here for some severe aggression or some fear-based issues, right, I'm not really as worried a whole much about the heel sit and the down and stay stuff, right? I want to expose that dog environmentally. I want to take our time and I want to expose that dog environmentally to let it know, hey, whatever it is you're scared of, we're going to teach you how to overcome that, right? So in other words, every curriculum for every dog is created on what we feel the dog needs and based on what we've discussed with the owner, right? So that's primarily about 75% of our business. On top of that, we have group classes for the people that don't have the chance to, or to bring their dogs in for a training program, but they want to spend once a week with us. We run 8-week group obedience classes that the dogs come with us once a week. Their owners bring the dogs. We have up to 12 dogs in a class. Like last night, we started a new series of classes that went absolutely excellent, right? We had 12 dogs in this new basic obedience class, and it was, I love working in a group setting with people as well. I'm maybe not as much as Andrew, but I'm a people person, right? So, I really, on top of that, working with the dogs and just seeing how we can transform those people to transform those dogs, essentially, right, in the group setting. So we've got a 25,000 square foot grass training field here. So on that, we've got everything from dog agility equipment, right? We run dog agility programs. I actually have a couple competitive dog agility groups that come out here and actually do some fun runs and some competitions out here every once in a while. I teach agility classes here. I like to do those, not necessarily. I used to be very, very big avid competitor when I was younger in agility, but I'm involved with it right now because people never realize how much it builds a dog's confidence, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, yes.
The
Yeah.
dog,
Oh, yes. So true. So true, right?
right?
You see those dogs go, whether it's when I was up in Utah, we used to do tunnels and we would do raised ladders and those types of things. And watching the way their manners, the way they hold their body, their tail, their head posture, and the way they just look at you. Their
Yeah.
confidence level through the roof, and there nothing but goodness comes of that. Nothing but goodness comes from that, except for they have more confidence. So in my case with Daphne, her propensity to be a little bit more bulldozery than she was before, it definitely accentuated that. But you can't go wrong with building their confidence, just like with people. It's directed positively, and to watch them do something they haven't done before, or just having that drive to just do it instead. Is that all you got? Let's do something harder. It's wonderful. It makes me want to cry when I see my dogs do it. So I'm sorry to interrupt. Go on.
Oh no, absolutely.
And that's really one of the biggest, the two probably biggest things that we train here, and our two biggest specialties, especially for the dogs that come and do the 2-week program with us. The number one is confidence issues, right? Fear, anxiety, just general unsureness about the world. And then the other side of that is overconfidence, right? Being too tutorial, right? That kind of stuff. So understanding how to use those tools. Agility is a great tool for both dogs, right? But understanding that you might need to do it and introduce it and all that kind of stuff a little bit differently for each dog, right? And even two dogs that are both insecure, you might have to introduce it and do it a little bit different for those two dogs, just because they're different dogs. So being able to modify the plan based on the dog and based on the feedback that the dog's giving us at any moment.
It just all sounds so perfect. I'm gonna have to get my dogs in the car and head down to see you guys. What about things like what is it, lure training? Is that the other piece you guys have? And then the water.
Yeah, I'll go a little depth in that. So on top of having all the obedience training too, right? Is that I wanted to create. I'll be honest with you. How I came up and how I evolved into doing actually the lure course in the dock dive and the swimming that we do with the dogs here is that I compete with my dogs, and essentially it's a sport called French ring, right? So in other words, it's
I know.
like police dog trials in a sense. My dogs have to do a combination of agility, obedience, and protection work, right? Bite work stuff. Well, when it's the same routine that I teach every time, and this is what they're bred for essentially, and I do it all the time, right? My dogs, heaven forbid, just like anybody, they're gonna get bored of the same program every now and then, right? So I essentially got this lure coursing. Right, it kind of took off and evolved it into my business, but I got it for essentially as an outlet for my dogs, and that's what my clients use it for now. And I tell you is that I can, as much as I'd say, I would love to have more people come for like the group classes and the obedience stuff, but if I announce a lure coursing night that I'm having, oh my Lord, this place is a zoo. I have people that come from Tucson. I'm in Cave Creek. I have people that come from Laveen. I have people that come from Tucson. I have people that drive from Flagstaff to run their dog around here for 2 minutes in a lap and go around, and it's ridiculous of how much fun the dogs and the people have, right? Lure coursing is basically, it's something as simple as I take a plastic bag, I put it tie it to a rope or on a string, which is set up onto a pulley system, which runs on a reel, like a motor that I have, and that thing runs around the ground. And every dog, they either naturally have a prey drive instinct or they don't. And when they have prey drive, you don't have to teach your dog to do it; they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Love it, right? So it's so much fun to watch. I have everything from I've seen every single dog in all shapes and sizes do it. Right, I have a French bulldog. Right, he's 8 months old, and he thinks he's a Malinois. Right, he thinks he's a German Shepherd.
Yes.
He runs that thing like it's his favorite thing in the whole world, right? And so on top of that, it gets hot here in the summers. Obviously, down here in Cave Creek, Phoenix, it's just as it does up there. But just as an addition for this summer, we've put in a pool. We have a huge competition-sized pool. It's a 21-foot by 41-foot pool. It's about 30,000-gallon pool. Competition spec dock, and we do everything from teaching dogs how to be competitive dock divers to building confidence issues of teaching a dog how to just step in the water and just to kind of let loose and be a dog, right? And in socializations, group swim classes, and it's just we're really excited to have that as an addition this summer for our business. As it's the first year we're going to have it. But already I have people from all over the state here contacting me. When's the dock diving going on? When's the lure coursing going on? We want to come for that, right? So it's we have those outlets, and there's a lot of facilities down here. You know, dog trainers, as you say, they're a dime a dozen. You could Google. There's probably 100 dog trainers here in Phoenix, right? But I'll be blessed to say that I have the ability of having 12 acres, which I don't know a whole lot of facilities that are bigger than ours. And then I'm able to do this type of stuff. I'm able to have a big field. I'm able to have the pool. I'm able to have, you know, the beautiful kennel setup that I have. We have air-conditioned, climate-controlled kennels for the dogs. I mean, I'm able to have that dog haven, you know, and most trainers try to do that out of their backyard, and it can only go so far.
Now I gotta be honest with you. I'm sitting here in a place that's not very air-conditioned, climate-controlled environment for myself, just sitting here. So I'm definitely coming down to see you guys. Now, with your pool, is your pool's above ground with a deck? I'm guessing, rather than in ground. Now, I don't mean to open up a can of worms here for you, and I've got extremely strong opinions about this. But what about you said you just have swim classes or swim events where they can just go in and get some exercise for themselves without having it being competitive or anything like that? Is that true? Is that what I heard?
Everything we do here, whether it's lure coursing or agility or the swimming, right, is initially based in just having fun and giving your dog something to do, right?
Good.
You have competitions, right, because there are people who like it and want to compete, and we've got the facility to hold those competitions, right? But our normal day-to-day operation with lure coursing, with agility, with swimming, with even like the protection stuff that we do is just have fun with your dog, right?
You know what? Andrew, I really want to believe you. It said I'm sitting there looking at Chad, who actually does French ring. Now, for those of you that don't know what French ring is, you ought to be impressed because oh my gosh, the first woman I ever met that did French ring, she did it with her. I was doing some training for my contraband dogs in Utah, and this enormous lady comes in, and she's got it wasn't a German Shepherd, it wasn't a Mallee, it was something else. Son?
Dutch Shepherd. I know the woman very well.
Do you? Okay, she's
Sandra.
Huh?
Sandra.
Maybe, yeah. So so she comes in with this older dog, and that she had the younger dog first, and he was learning his first detection stuff, but he's a French ring dog, this younger dog, the son of this other dog, and it was so impressive. And she was talking about the amount of time when she told him down off of being on this guy. You know, he was on this guy with these drugs, and she said something in a different language to this dog. The dog goes bam and hits the ground, and I was like, holy smokes, that was incredibly impressive. And she said, well, that was kind of slow. I'm like, slow? Are you kidding me? And she said, I French ring with this dog. I had no freaking idea what that meant. So I found out. And then this woman, who was just amazing, we're in the hallway, and they're doing work with the drugs are here, and the guys are there. And she brings her other dog in, this really gorgeous, huge dog, and downs him. And they're looking around the corner, down the hall. And she says something to this dog, and the dog takes its head up like this, like a velociraptor, and goes, do-do-do-do-do. I'm standing right here. I'm staring at this dog. The dog just locks eyes on me. I said, no. And this other police officer standing next to me, he can't stop laughing. He goes, you are dead. Like that. And this was so slow, this was happening, but it was like watching a car wreck. The dog was turned around, looked at me versus looking down the hallway, and then she just went and said something to him, one word, and the dog goes right back on target. But this highway patrolman, he couldn't stop laughing. He goes, "You are dead." The way this dog's looking at me, I honestly have never seen so much power and so much intent in one creature. And then these two dogs, and this older dog, he wouldn't out, you know. So I learned about choking out, I learned about French ring, I learned about all these wonderful things in about 5 minutes of my life, while this dog just turned around and looked at me like a velociraptor. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And this woman was so wonderful and so just a powerhouse of everything that she did. I couldn't have been more impressed with her. But when you said French ring, that's all I could think about is the meticulous training and control of the relationship with the person and the dog. It's like something I've never seen before. So I love what you're saying about the fun, Andrew, but then you're talking about French ring. You guys got the whole gamut of dog relationships there. I can let my dog swim, and then I can do French ring.
That is fun, though. It's fun for the dogs. These dogs are do that, right? They're trained to do it. They're trained to love it. So, and genetically they love it too. And then when we go out there, you get these dogs having an idea that you're going to do something like this, so it's fun to go out and train with them and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with you more. That's not because I've ever done French ring or that I've had experience with these amazing military dogs and police dogs. And in this case, this was an a highly ranking arm. Well, a highly ranking officer in the dog world, and I got nothing but the utmost respect. But watching the relationship on one word or one cue with this woman and this dog, and knowing they spend their life doing this, and the drive, I mean, the drive that these dogs had to do this thing was something I've never witnessed before. So it was a wonderful thing to see. So I bet people love coming to your facility, just love doing it because of everything that you offer and fulfilling what these dogs want to do, right? I mean, these dogs want to do what it is you guys are doing.
Yeah, the other cool thing is that a lot of trainers only see people who are having problems with their dog.
Welcome to my world.
Exactly, with that, right? Most times you see it, it's because there's either actually something wrong or they think there's something wrong, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
doing the agility, doing the lure coursing, doing the swimming, we meet all sorts of dogs that we would generally have no contact with because they're good dogs already, and their owners are just giving them something else to do, and they're looking for a place to do it, and they don't have the ability to do it in their backyard or do it somewhere else. So we get to meet those people too, which keeps things nice and fresh for us also, because it's not just constantly people coming in like, I'm tired of my dog, he's afraid of everything, he's going after. No, like today we've got a bunch of sight hounds that are coming in and running lure coursing.
Lure coursing, yeah. Now, we're coming to the end of our time here, and I want to ask you guys, now we have to remember the focus on this show and what it is that I actually do for a living here is holistic pet care, and what it is that you guys are talking about doing fulfills all of the nooks and crannies that I would love to provide my clients with: the air you breathe, food you eat, get some good exercise, get dirty, and do what it is you were meant to do, whether you're a two-legged or four, or you're just a strong advocate for that. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say about what do the services you provide to human and canine mean to you guys? I know this is a little bit from the heart, a little bit gooey and everything, but it's important, and with regard to the holistic piece of it, that people know where you guys are coming from and what it means to you guys to do what you do every day. I really appreciate that.
I'll be gooey first, maybe. But
gooey.
Having been a teacher, and I taught kids who were not at the level that they should be, right? And it was always a very long process, right? 180 days of school was always a very long process. And for kids who didn't really want to be there very frequently and who would oftentimes come in and make it more difficult to accomplish the things that we needed to accomplish, it was a very frustrating experience for me, right? So to be able to come here every day and work with dogs, whether it's because they're having problems or because you're just looking to take something that they're good at and want to do at and making them better at that,
right?
I always see change very quickly, right? And it fulfills something in me that I miss teaching kids, right?
Right on.
The progress that you're seeing and seeing the dogs get better and seeing the owners get better and understanding how that dogs are a lot simpler than people, right? And
Yeah.
can work on their problems a lot easier, right? And that they're constantly communicating with us and their behaviors are fairly predictable. So I personally, I get that out and I love coming to work every day for real, right? This is such a positive change for me, and people who know me well are kind of dumbfounded at my new kind of outlook on life, right? But really, being here and getting to see that change is the most gratifying thing for me because we're giving these dogs new lives. I know how much I enjoy my dogs, and I know how much it makes me happy to be able to go do things with them. So being able to give that to other people and knowing that their dogs are also going to be happier for it is awesome for me.
Yeah, when my practice, I just want them to feel better today than they felt yesterday, and I want every single day to be better for them, and to get those phone calls, or to see them walk through the door and just be all bright-eyed, like, hi, like I feel better in my own skin, regardless what it is for my practice. But for your guys' practice, man, that's awesome, Andrew. What do you think, Chad?
Well, so just kind of listen to what Andrew says. I'm on the pretty much the same boat as him. I mean, I everything from, I use my little Labrador Retriever analogy that I use on a regular basis. I just love seeing that, you have this family, this newly married couple that have these kids and or plan on having some children. They want to get a Labrador Retriever puppy, and they just, they're an active lifestyle, and just being a part of essentially their lives in a sense, because I'm helping create a foundation for that dog, and it's going to be the rest of their life and the beginning of their family. And I just love seeing that when people come here with a smile on their face and they have this well-behaved dog that's happy, that's wagging its tail. I love to see that too. But I think more specifically is that I really get a lot of enjoyment out of the dogs that are the quote-unquote untrainable dogs, the dogs that are, like I said, they're on their last stem. Like we have dogs that come to us, on probably more of a regular basis than we would want to see, but that, look, if we can't fix this dog or teach this dog how to at least be neutral towards a situation or an environment, the dog has to be euthanized. And, it's like somebody's child that they're giving you, you're putting in their hands, and you're there to do your absolute best to transform that. And we can basically give that dog, like Andrew was saying, we're essentially giving that dogs like that a better life and a better understanding. It's like somebody goes into rehab. I'm there, but I'm there to make the best of it, to learn and to make the best of what I now know, and to kind of continue forward from there. And then when you look back and or you look in the future, 4 or 5 months from now, and you see that dog is able to go on walks down, is able to have people come in the house, and just like that, that's where the real enjoyment's at for me, because that's where a lot of the time and the emotion goes into a lot of stuff like that as well. And it's really rewarding to see that type of stuff.
Yeah, those are the no guts, no glory moves in veterinary medicine. I mean, this is it. I mean, you got to do your best, and you got to give it 100%, and that you don't give up. You just don't give up, and that those are the most fulfilling by far. Especially if it takes a day, a week, a month, or 6 months, and they're still chugging along, and you've changed the path that they're on. And for me, it's medicine, and for you, it's behavior. That's awesome. So tell the world how to get a hold of you guys, and then we will. Have to talk to each other soon about something else to do together.
Our phone number is 480-719-3779. We are online at www.huntercanine.com. Canine is spelled out, C-A-N-I-N-E. We are on Facebook as Hunter Canine. We are on Twitter as Hunter Canine. You can find us anywhere. So.
Right.
If you have any questions, if you need any help, if you'd like some advice, then please give us a call, and we're happy to help you however we can.
I can't thank you guys enough for your time. I hear your phone ringing off the hook. I know you guys are busy and you're doing valuable work. I can't speak highly enough of you guys, and I'll definitely be bringing my own herd down there to get some work done, because, as you know, I'm not the biggest authoritarian out here. So, but thank you so much for your time, and I hope everybody calls you guys, and I hope to see you up here again for another rattlesnake avoidance training, so we can try and save a couple more lives, okay? And I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too, hon. And for all of us with Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O, thank you very much for watching and listening. And please spread the good word. And like us on Facebook, Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O, and then go ahead and Twitter us a little bit so we can do a better job for you and your pets. Thank you very much. Bye bye.